Good morning and welcome to the Oilers TV live pregame show. I'm your host, Tony Brar, and Oil Country, it's so great to see you again as the Oilers are ready to partake in their first game action in 10 days and their first home game here at Rogers Place in 30 days. Their last game was on January 16th against the Columbus Blue Jackets, a 5-2 win here in Ice District. But the Oilers, they're looking to get back in the win column. Of course, 2-9-2 in their last 13 games. They host an Ottawa Senators club that is 10-18-2 so far this season, but 6 of those 10 wins have come in their last 10 games. We're going to hear from defenseman Darnell Nurse, forward Kailer Yamamoto, and head coach Dave Tippett in just a few moments. Stay tuned.
Morning, Kailer.
Morning.
So it's been a little while for you guys. How do you think you've kept yourselves engaged and attentive, and how do you feel heading into this game tonight?
Yeah, it's been weird. Especially with this COVID stuff. Games getting canceled and stuff like that. But we've had a couple practices, and they were good practices. Worked on a few things, neutral zone, D zone. But I think we're really prepared for this game, and we're feeling confident.
As players, when you have extra time like this, do you dig a little deeper than you might normally? Like, do you look for areas of your own game? Do you go a little deeper than maybe a regular season allows you to? How do you take advantage of the time?
I definitely have been, looking at a lot of video, trying to break down my game. I'm sure a lot of guys do. Anytime you're in a bit of a skid like this, you definitely want to find different ways, to win. So I definitely think our team's doing that right now.
So when you dig into video of yourself, what comes up? What's on your mind? What do you focus on?
Obviously, I've been talking a lot this year. I need to shoot more. I think get to the net more. Make my own plays. I think just a little bit more. I played with Chad a lot, and I feel like I'm giving him the puck a lot. In places that maybe he doesn't want it, or it's a tough situation for him. So I think kind of just those things.
Are you excited to not have to be tested every morning now? Guys like Leon and still has to come and get tested every morning.
I know.
How exciting is that for you?
I'm very excited, actually. Since COVID started, I've probably taken over, 200 tests. So, it's going to be a nice little change, honestly.
Do you, when all the other guys were getting COVID and you didn't have COVID, every morning do you get up and take a test and say, okay, today's my day? Or do you start thinking that?
I didn't really think that, but if I got it, it's around the whole league. So I feel like it's pretty tough not to get it. I wasn't really too concerned about it. I'm just talking to the guys about what their symptoms have been like. Mostly just like a stuffy nose and congested When I got it, I had the same thing, just stuffy nose and congestion in my throat, but that was about it. So it wasn't too bad, and now I don't have to test, so pretty pumped about that.
Thanks.
Kailer, just to follow up on that, it's not just a matter of just going out there and shooting the puck.
Yeah.
Is it more about trying to get to the right spots and being ready to shoot it for you?
Yeah, I think 100%. Just finding those areas, finding those little pockets. Like Drat or anybody who I play with can find those and give me that good scoring chance. It's tough to get to those areas. A lot of those times, other teams are really good at defending, so to find those areas, it's tough.
Kailer, good to see you again. Obviously, right before the break, team was on a little bit of a skid. Now, obviously, you don't want any games to be postponed or canceled due to COVID, but was there an opportunity for this group to maybe mentally recalibrate?
I definitely think so. I think the break, helped our team a little bit. Give our guys just a little extra time, to regroup and, get back on the right page. So I definitely think it'll help, and I think we'll show it tonight.
Not only mentally, but also physical standpoint. Obviously, it's a grueling 82-game schedule. How does the body feel coming out of a break like this?
Me personally, I feel really good. My body's firing. I'm excited for the game tonight, so it should be a good one.
Kailer, before the break, we were talking to Leon Draisaitl about you specifically. And, he sat there and said, there are so many things this player does well. Maybe you guys don't even notice it. Like, he had your back 100% in that moment when we were asking him questions. Did you hear those comments from Leon? And what sense of support have you, felt from him as your game, you continue to work on things?
I actually never really saw those comments. I don't really follow social media too much. I try to stay away from that. But, he talks to me in the locker room all the time. He's always pumping me up. So I kind of get the gist of what he probably said in that interview, but it just means a lot from one of the top two guys in the league. Able to give me that praise means a lot, and just gives me a lot of confidence.
Whether your points are coming or not, what are some of the things you think are valued most in your game that you try and make sure you bring, whether the points are coming or not?
For me, I think it's just my compete and winning puck battles. I think those two are the biggest for me. If I'm competing and I'm winning puck battles for the team, that means our team has the puck, and that means we have a chance to, get a goal. So I think those are probably the two biggest things for me.
Thanks, Kailer.
Thank you.
At the risk of being repetitive from yesterday, do you expect to have 18 skaters tonight?
What's that?
Do you expect to have 18 skaters tonight?
Yeah. Fogel and Benson and Cuckoo all cleared last night or late yesterday afternoon, so we have a pick of them.
So you actually got a choice then?
Got some choices. Well, they haven't had much skating, so one of those guys will play.
Okay. Ottawa, last year you went 9-0. Is it kind of just but let's not think about that, guys, like that was a long time ago?
That's last year. This is a whole different bird. So they had quite a break and got one game under their belt. We're coming out of a break, so expect both teams to play with lots of energy. So we'll see where it goes.
Are you in the frame of mind to try some things a little different, combination-wise and such, than you were using before, or do you feel like you want to stick with what is familiar? Are you feeling the need to mix it up at all?
COVID's driving it that way a little bit right now, so health and getting pieces and not just getting pieces, but once we get everybody back up to speed, we've got, you got a player coming in today that hasn't skated in 5 days, so he's in the lineup. We'll see how he goes, but until we can get back up to speed, I'm hoping next week we can get some continue to get some good practices and maybe get a little more, figure our lineup out. I mean, the biggest thing that changes our lineup is when Draisaitl plays wing or plays center, right? That drives it a little bit, and some of that has been the COVID issue of where all the parts fit.
On the blue line, with a player like Ceci, has he shown you enough that if you wanted to maybe, mix in some more minutes or move things around, like you feel like you got options there based on how some guys have been playing for you?
Yeah, we've talked about that a lot the last couple of weeks, so it's you'll see some tweaks there and just the options of what we have been using pretty consistently and what we're going to try.
Dave, just here to your left, the players over the last few days have kind of been talking about the bigger break and what they've been able to do, maybe extra that they wouldn't normally been able to do. As a coach or coaching staff, have you, with this break, had time to do some things that you might not normally be able to do, or is it just kind of same process?
You get extra time. You don't get a ton of time to practice during the season, and especially that last little stretch when we're, on the road and in New York, and you're dealing with players every day. Seemed like a couple more players were out of the lineup, so you don't get a lot of time to practice. When you do, you get a good chance to review. You get people up and running. It's you think people are just in tip-top shape all the time, but when you're not practicing a lot, and players that maybe don't play as many minutes as other guys, they need to get some work in. So you have some days like this to really put some good work in, some good practice time, and if you think about it, like in a game, they might play 10 or 12 or 14 minutes, some of those guys, and in a practice, they're out there for 45 minutes, an hour, and they're going. So you build up that stamina back. So when you have a break like this, those are things that are beneficial to it. Now, that being said, you'd like to get in a rhythm where you have just enough practice and just enough games and everybody's in the flow. And hopefully we can get to that.
Good morning, Dave. Over here to you, right? With the Senators in town and Brady Tkachuk being named captain there, just a question on young captains. Obviously, McDavid was named captain in his second season in the NHL. And what that does for a young player as they're trying to establish themselves in the league while also being a leader in that locker room.
Well, you're looking at young players that have big impacts on the game and impacts on their team. And a lot of times teams will go that direction probably earlier than maybe in the past because it's a key person in their organization, and everybody recognize they will become the leader of the team. So there's I look at Ottawa's situation there. They've kind of come through a rebuild. Now they're trying to get established there with their core group, and young Tkachuk has played very well for him, and played real hard for him. That's the identity they want to have. He's kind of the head of the snake. Same thing happened here in Edmonton, where Connor comes in and he's established himself as a kind of the leader of the group. And sometimes the leader isn't just about how much they talk or how vocal they are. It's the identity of the team you want, and that's the guy that they follow. But every team now, like I think if you talk to every coach in the league right now, there's a leadership group or a small group of players. Sometimes they can be young players, sometimes they're veteran players. I look at a guy like Duncan Keith on our team is a real good leader, veteran player, but he's not the captain. So most teams, I think right now, you would see a real onus put on a leadership group that has an impact. And if they do have young captains, like Brady, then you have him surrounded with good people, so he continues to learn as he leads the team.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Just a little bit, it seems I don't know if 10 days in the hockey world, especially in the winter, seems like more like 2 or 3 weeks, but just the excitement level of getting back on the ice and getting back to playing.
Yeah, it's definitely exciting to play a game. We've been out here practicing hard in the gym, working out hard, so it's nice to be able to go out there and play against someone in a different jersey.
Is there a, like when you're playing games all the time, you have a pretty good idea where your game is at, what needs to be worked on. You take this big break. Do you know what to expect tonight?
You take a big break. I think the emphasis has to be on our pace of play and just coming out and working. When you get into a game situation, sometimes the details and maybe a play here, a play there will be missed. But if you come out with the mindset of just working and build off that, especially early in the game, and build off that, that's how you build your game. That's how you build confidence throughout the game. And for us, when you're away for 10 days, you do get time to watch video and reflect, and you use that time to still grow, not just sit around and prepare for 10 days later.
Where this team is at, the record you had earlier in the year versus how far you guys got away from that. How do you think the group is doing with just kind of identifying what kind of team you are and where are you guys, versus where you want to be? Where do you think the group is at with that?
Yeah, I think our group, wait for 10 days, you're able to reset. Obviously, whenever you're losing the way that we're losing, you deal with the fire away from playing a little bit too. So, for us, we started the year well. When we shut down for 10 days, we were still in the playoffs, so maybe, it's a wild card spot. But if you would have asked me at the beginning of the season, at the, 32 game or however many games we played, 34 game mark, if you're in a playoff spot, would you take it? We all would, and I think every fan would too. So it's not, the last stretch isn't how we want it to be. We got to stop the bleeding. At this point, we've had the time to reset. There's no excuses. We got to come out tonight and play with a real concerted effort and find a way to win.
Hey, Darnell. Stuart Skinner's been in the organization for a few years, so you would have even seen him at camps and things like that before he's played in the NHL the last couple of years. What have you sort of seen from him? Is there any different sort of vibe around him this season than maybe when he was younger?
Yeah, his mustache is a little bit better. No, he came into camp, and you could tell he just worked all year last year. Even before camp last year, you could tell the attention to detail and how hard he was working and how much he wanted not only to be an impact player in Baco, but obviously have a chance and opportunity to come up here and play. So it's been a lot of fun to see him, watch him grow, and he continues just to be hungry each and every day. He's out there working before practice, after practice. You ask him to take a few shots on him, he never says no. He's just hungry to continue to grow his game, and I think it's fun when you see someone over the last few years and grow the way he has.
Darnell, the other day, Ken Holland was up here and saying that the solutions have to be found internally. Like the cavalry's not coming; he's not going to make a move just to make a move. How do players take that when the GM says that? Do you see that as well? Is that you guys got to get out of this on your own? You're not going to get much help, and regardless of what the situation is.
Yeah, 100%. There's enough guys in this room been around here long enough. We've made changes, drastic changes, small changes. You can do that circle every 3 years. That doesn't change anything. That doesn't move the needle for us. We want to. Obviously, it gives us confidence because Kenny believes in the group that he has in the room, and we believe in ourselves. And with that said, words are words. We got to go out there and prove it, and prove why he has that trust in us, and prove why we trust each other in that room.
Thanks.
Thanks, sir.